Aloha class, I wanted to do a video on exercise 8-6. Logistics Solutions provides order fulfillment for ... .com. Merchants, the main company, maintains warehouses that stock items carried by its .com clients. When a client receives an order from a customer, the order is forwarded to Logistics Solution, which pulls the items from storage, packs it, ships it to the customer. The company uses a predetermined variable overhead rate based on direct labor hours. In the most recent month, 120 items were shipped to customers using 2,300 direct labor hours. So in the most recent month, that would be your actuals. The company incurred a total of 7,360 variable overhead costs. So we're going to be doing an overhead budget variance. That's probably the title of this problem, 8-6, variable overhead variances. So we'll do that kind of budget. And then they describe their standards. 0.02 direct labor hours are required to fulfill an order for one item, and the variable overhead rate is $3.25 per direct labor hour. So according to the standards, the variable overhead cost, what variable overhead cost should have been incurred to fill the orders for 120 items, 120,000 items. I like to have that right at the top. These are what I'm making. And then they said actual was 7,360. And now I wanted to know how much do I budget according, or how much are my standards telling me I should be using in dollars. And so they said, according to the standards, okay. They said that it was 0.02. Remember, I want to make this on a total basis, so I would have to times 0.02 direct labor hours per item. Remember, I'm making this many items. So how many direct labor hours am I going to need? I'm going to need 120,000 times by 0.02. I'm going to need 2,400 direct labor hours. My standards tell me that it's $3.25 per direct labor hour. Zoom in a little bit. So this is my standard rate. And so how much should I be using? So this many direct labor hours times it by my standard rate. Direct labor hours is our driver for variable overhead, so I should be using 7,800, or maybe I'll just move this right over here. Actual is 7,360. I used my actual is this, and then this would be my budgeted amount or standard amount. And so if actual minus budget or standard amount is negative, then I've come in under budget. So this would, we don't use it as negative. We say 440, and we would say favorable variance. So in total, we have a 440 favorable variance because our standard prices, our standard costs told us we should have been spending $7,800, but we spent under that, and so our manager would be happy that we underspent, and we would have a favorable variance. Now we're going to break it down. So remember how we remember these: A, S, and then this one is not QP because it's not quantity and price, it's hours and rates. So HR, HR. So now this is our, over here we have our rate variance, these two over here, and then we have our our efficiency variance, because the standard hours versus the actual hours. And they told me I was using 2,300 direct labor hours, actual hours. 2,300 direct labor hours, actual hours. And then the total was the 7,360. 7,360 was the total actual hours times by some rate gives me a total of what they spent to make these units. My standard rate is $3.25 an hour. Standard rate $3.25. So I know my actual rate should be somewhere around $3.25. And standard hours, they said it was 0.02. 0.02, but remember this needs to be on a total basis. How many total hours do you need? And remember we calculated that above here by timesing the number of items. We times that to get our total direct labor hours needed to make 120,000 items. So we should be using 24, and that is pretty close to 23. Actual rate, I can do the total divided by actual hours and get the rate, which is pretty close to 3.25. It's 3.20. And so remember, we could merge these. So this one times by this one would give you your middle number. 2,300 times it by $3.25. Actual hours times it by standard rate would give you this number. And then standard hours times it by standard rate will give you this number. And now we can identify our variances. I should have been paying $325. I actually paid $320, so I know this will be favorable. Hopefully this will let me do this. This one minus this one. Yep. And so it's negative, right? I came in under budget, so we would say 115 favorable. And then for our, and this is considered our, since the rates are changing, actual rate versus standard rate, this would be a rate variance for our variable overhead. And then we have our quantity, not quantity, efficiency variance, because the hours are changing. So this one would be this one minus this one. And if it's a positive number, oh, it's also negative, which is a good thing because standard hours, oh, I don't think we did this right. Oh yeah, that is correct. 23 hours, we actually used 23 hours. The standard said we should be using 24, so we did come in under budget over there. And so we have negative 325, which is seen as 325, and that would be favorable. And so total variable manufacturing overhead, variable overhead variance, a little redundant, but variance would be the two of these together, and since they're both favorable, we would have 440 favorable, but we already knew that from up here. We just divided it to something a little more specific. So our rate variance ended up being 115 favorable, and then we have 325 favorable for efficiency variance.